Show. You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Glad you're hanging out with us here. Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Tigers win. We expected. Brian Kelly met with the media about an hour ago. We'll go through that as well. Denton Day, Sirius XM, going to join us in his normal day, which is Monday, but it's usually at 2:30. He's got something to come up. So in 30 minutes, we'll talk a kind of national college football landscape with Denton, what's going on in Tuscaloosa, what's going on in College Station, what's going on in the SEC. Talk all that with Denton Day. We'll go through my picks in the Southeastern Conference against the spread. Had a really solid week one. Week two, not real solid. Saints won. We'll talk about that as well. Some other NFL storylines. So big Monday, as you would expect this time of year. Fired up to be here with you. We will start with LSU and Grambling from Saturday night. Look, it's exactly what you would expect. This is not a fair competition on the field when these two teams get together, these two leagues get together. As I said back last week, it was good for the community for LSU and Southern to get together for one day. If Grambling needs to be afforded that opportunity for one day, that's fine. Do I need to see this very often, if ever again? Probably not. And again, I'm not going to dive too deep into what we saw on the field, X's and O's, plays and not plays, because it's just not a fair fight. That's just the end of the discussion. But the other piece to this that we talked about last week is you could tell some things based on coaching decisions. That to me speaks more than, oh, nice 70-yard touchdown there. Oh, you stopped them on their last 8 drives. Like, yeah, I get it. I know how that's going to go. But when you look up there and Logan Diggs is handling the majority of the reps at tailback, I can tell you that that's a change from week one. And it's frankly the change I expected when Logan Diggs signed to transfer to LSU. I turned on the YouTube footage, said, okay. I thought about what LSU had coming back at running back. That's probably going to be their leading rusher. I felt like he would be the guy. He didn't play at all last week, and I thought that was a little curious. Brian Kelly said wasn't quite ready to practice, but he obviously was this past week. He gets 15 carries, takes over 115 yards, has his first touchdown. As an LSU Tiger, averaged 7.7 yards per carry, and all those statistics don't mean much, other than the fact that I think Logan Diggs is going to be the focal point of the rushing attack for the near future. Now, I think there's a chance moving forward that Caleb Jackson works his way heavily into the rotation. That was word I got on Friday afternoon that, hey, you're going to see a lot of Caleb Jackson in the game on Saturday. And you did. You saw him for 11 carries. And on the kickoff, is he outrunning and out-athleting a bunch of guys that he's significantly more talented than? Yes. But he is big, he is physical, and he does have top-end speed. And I think when you look at the LSU-Florida State game and you realize that was a heavy dose of Josh Williams and Noah Cain, and you look at LSU Grambling and you saw 26 carries between Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson, I think that's where things are headed. Does that give LSU as talented a running back crew as they had in 2007 or 2011? Are they as talented there as they were in 2015 with Fournette and Geis? No. But do I think they can upgrade there with those two guys moving forward? I do. And I think that's a big piece to take away from this. As far as other starters, Denver Harris started in the game, and I was excited to see that. That's a whole story in and of itself, because when you, and y'all know the Denver Harris story. Y'all know 5-star, down to LSU and A&M, picks A&M, goes there as a knucklehead off the field, plays well for half a season, gets suspended, transfers out. Like, you know that story. And you know that LSU brought him in and they looked at his his background, and they sat down with him multiple times, and they sat down with his family in his camp, and they laid out a plan, and they brought him in for the spring. And you didn't really hear much about Denver Harris in the spring, and figure all is well, and you come back for the fall, and he's out there working with the third team, and you're going, well, why? And I don't know. I don't know if it's because he's not good enough or because they're not happy with the way that he's conducting himself. And when you hear Brian Kelly talk and you say, yeah, he was available in the Florida State game, he didn't play, and then you find out after the Florida State game and in the week prior to Grambling that, hey, he's got to take care of some things and focus on some things and do the things that we expect him to be doing, and he's getting there and all those kind of things. And then he starts. It sounds to me, if I just read all the tea leaves that are there available, that, hey, this is a guy that we think can play, but we're not happy with the way he's conducting himself. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know what he did. Was it the fight at practice? Is it late for stuff or classwork? I don't know what the deal is, but there was some disconnect. And clearly that disconnect was lessened over the week because Denver Harris gets on his Instagram on social media and posts a selfie of himself and says freed, meaning I'm freed from whatever shackles that were there, and you can go play. And he started. Now, he got beat for a touchdown and had a pass interference, so I wouldn't suggest that he was all world out there. It looked like a guy that was going to solve the secondary woes, but he did play. And then you heard Brian Kelly today in his press conference. He was asked about Denver Harris, and he said, well, look, this is a guy that's just played press coverage. That's all he's played. We want him to press. We want him to bail. We want him to play off. We want to play press to off. We want to do a lot of different things, and he's not necessarily comfortable with it. And I go, okay. There seem to be a lot of different variables here. Behavior, technique, experience, playing time, but he was out there. And trust me, I'll take any corner that wants to go out there and play at this point. And the other guy that stepped in and was something that we didn't see against Florida State and certainly did against Grambling was the addition of Lance Hurd on the right side of the offensive line. And that moves your right guard Miles Frazier out, kicks Emory Jones down, and that's been clearly something they've been looking at for a few weeks now because they did that in the scrimmage that we went to as press back in late August. And this is something I think moving forward that they're going to shift to. Now the question becomes, and this will be something that we talk about all week, hey, okay, that's the look, but are you prepared to do that on the road? And make no mistake, they were on the road last weekend in Orlando, and they will be on the road coming up on Saturday morning in Starkville. Question is Lance Hurd ready to do that? You're going to have the cowbells, you're going to have a veteran defense, a bunch of 22-year-olds. Lance Hurd ready for that? Or are you going to stick Frazier at right guard and put Emory Jones out at right tackle and just stick with what you're comfortable with, and maybe against Arkansas at home, where you can hear a little bit better, go with it? I couldn't tell you exactly how Lance Hurd played on Saturday. He's significantly bigger than everybody that Grambling puts out there on the defensive front. And I can't break that down and translate what a right tackle's performance against a SWAC team is against a conference team on the road. That's more than my pay grade's worth here. But I can tell you, based on just the coach's decision to make that happen, that they're certainly giving it a look. And I tend to like it. So it's a long year, man. Bama's got a lot of work to do. A&M's got a lot of work to do. Florida's got a lot of work to do. Auburn's got a lot of work to do. Ole Miss, State, Arkansas, nobody in the West looks awesome. And we'll talk about that at the top of hour number 2. But it's not as if I can sit here after a rough week 1 and then, you got Grambling going down the field 3 straight times in week 2, and you're feeling like the defense really may be in some trouble. And I want to sit back and go, yeah, it hadn't looked very good, but nobody looks great on this side, and everybody's just going to have to fight to get better. And LSU made a lot of strides last year, mid-season. You got to hope that happens once again. I could tell you that LSU went down and scored a touchdown on every single drive they had. I could talk about Jaden Daniels throwing for 5 touchdowns and no picks. Brian Thomas responding to a tough opener with 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Anderson getting in the mix. Chris Hilton making a nice play for a touchdown where he wasn't really used. And all that's great. It's all well and good. And it's part of the non-conference games that you're a 50-point favorite in. But I just don't have a lot of interest in spending a lot of time breaking down the X's and O's of the numbers from LSU and Grambling. The band was really cool for Grambling. For those that stayed till halftime or were there, their band's awesome. They can break it down. The dance moves were on point. Sounded great. Looked awesome. I enjoyed the band. Football team, well, probably shouldn't be playing LSU. But they did, and LSU got through it. The one injury that we did see in the game was Mason Taylor, who came out, and that allowed Kamorian Pimpton to get in there, make his first catch as a Tiger, allowed Mac Markway to get in and make a catch as well. But Mason Taylor is listed as probable moving forward. Brian Kelly did say that. So hopefully he's able to go on Saturday. The other injury update he gave was Omar Spates, who he said was probable. A couple of things that I want to talk about in the following segment here from Brian Kelly was the use of Harold Perkins and where he was. That's another thing we can probably take from this game. We'll also talk about the running back rotation a little bit in a quote that Brian Kelly gave earlier today. But we still got a lot to get to here until 3 o'clock. Denton Day is going to be with us here in 20 minutes talking college football nationally. I want to remind you, if you want to see comedian Dave Chappelle live at the Smoothie King Center coming up in New Orleans this coming Friday, tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. 104.5 ESPN is giving you a chance to see Dave for free, though. You go to 1045ESPN.com, register for your chance to win a pair of tickets to Dave Chappelle this Friday in the Smoothing King Center down in NOLA. Saints got a big win. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. Stick with us. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
This NFL season is here. Now's the time to get incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast all of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping a busy weekend. LSU Grambling, you'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll recap Saints-Titans from the Dome. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Denton Day in 15 minutes, talking some college football nationally. LSU beats Grambling 72-10. I'll be honest, I did the postgame show on Saturday night. I didn't even realize that LSU scored on every drive. I was so I don't know if checked out is the word. I certainly, up in the press box was watching a good bit of Alabama, Texas, and I was aware of what was going on in the LSU game and prepared to talk about it. But I just wasn't going to dive super deep into the box score. It is what it is. They won 72-10. What do you want me to add there? And usually I look at the drive chart and kind of see some, but this time I just didn't do it. Didn't realize I scored on every play. But I was more, as I've been saying, concerned with some of the things that I felt like I could draw some information on. In the first segment there, I mentioned Diggs getting the majority of the snaps there with Jackson at running back, and I mentioned what you were looking at as far as the offensive line goes and what that may look like. And Denver Harris getting a start and all that, I think was relevant. And another piece that I thought was relevant was Mason Smith coming back and just what does he look like? And he looked like a guy that was a lot of gas, quite frankly. He just, whether you're playing Bama or Grambling, he just looked like a guy who's it's tough to get into game shape. But I respect that. It's very difficult to get into game shape when you've missed that long between playing and games, and then you've got a camp where you're supposed to be getting in shape, and you have a significant ankle injury that cost you, 2-3 weeks, probably 3 weeks. And so you're that size, carrying that weight in that heat, and you hadn't been able to do the necessary cardio that you'd like to do. I get it. So I would love it if Mason Smith was ready to go for 65 snaps in Starkville at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't look that way. It looks like that's a guy who's probably got half of that in him. Brian Kelly said 30 snaps entering this week. We'll see what he can give you on Saturday. But Mississippi State's now running the ball a ton, which they did on Saturday night. Really like to have Mason Smith available to help stop that run and to create some issues up front. But he's got to work his way into shape. It's understandable, but it's certainly unfortunate. As far as the pass rush goes, you'd really like to see Harold Perkins affecting that. And Brian Kelly was asked today about Harold Perkins. And once again, on our Monday shows, there's just not enough time between Brian Kelly's press conference and us going on the air for us to actually have the sound. You'll get that on AFR each and every Monday. But he was asked about Harold Perkins, what do you want to do? And I'm, again, paraphrasing because we don't have the exact quote, and I'm just taking notes during the press conference. But basically the quote from Kelly was, we probably slowed him down a little bit playing in the middle. Yeah, you did. You did. It's pretty obvious to everyone. And the usage of Harold Perkins against Florida State was just a miscalculation. I'm here to give you the benefit of the doubt as a coaching staff. I think Matt House has done a really good job since coming to LSU. I think Brian Kelly's a great football coach, and I think their thought process there was probably reasonable in their eyes. We've got a great talent who's incredibly versatile, whose future is in the NFL in the middle of the field, who we can move around and do some different things with and make them account for him. And just far too often, you had them scheming him out of the box, scheming him into the secondary, as opposed to being aggressive, attacking, and making disruptive plays. And it was a miscalculation. It was a misstep. And guess what? They fixed it to a degree against Grambling. He spent a lot more time around the line of scrimmage, in the box, coming downhill, for sure. And as Brian Kelly said today, and this was a direct quote because I wrote this down, he says, we'll refine what we do with him. So again, for those that would hope that Harold Perkins would spend his entire career at LSU lined up over the tackle, firing up the field, like that's not realistic. He's going to be, in that case, dealing with too many tackles in the run game and too easy to identify. I do want him to move a little bit, and I do want him to show some of that versatility and athleticism. And I do like the fact that when they throw a swing pass out there, that Harold Perkins can have that guy man-to-man and fly out there and make a huge hit like he did against Grambling. Like, that's great. But they've got to mix and match and kind of find whatever spot suits Harold the best. And credit this staff. Like, they have made adjustments and changes throughout a season. Last year, you had the issues with the blocked field goals in Florida State game. They overhauled the front on field goal unit. Last year, you've got significant issues on the offensive line against Florida State. 1 week, boom, change. Overhauled the whole thing. Like, they've done that. They have shown an ability to adapt. They're not overly stubborn. They understand that at times you may make a mistake. Fix it. And they're going to do that with Harold Perkins. Now, Omar Spates at linebacker, probable for this game. That's another thing that Brian Kelly said earlier today. Those are the two injuries he mentioned. I talked about Mason Taylor in the last segment, talking about Omar Spates here in this one. But if you need to put Spates and Penn out there and shift Perkins around, go ahead and do it. That's just fine. That was kind of it for me as far as big takeaways from LSU and Grambling. I was concerned with the offensive line, with the defensive play early in the game. I do wish Shelton Sampson would have caught the football. Those two drops he had were disappointing, but he's young, and this is his first time out there, and he'll improve. He's a great talent, no question. I wish LSU maybe rushed the passer just a little bit better in the game. Come up with one sack, okay. Wish you were, but the ball came out pretty quick. But overall, this was a mental break for the team, an opportunity to go out there and have fun, an opportunity for you to fire up the tailgate, an opportunity to get inside Tiger Stadium, hear the band, hear the alma mater, bring the kids if they want. Man, there were a lot of kids inside Tiger Stadium. I was shocked walking in at how many children I saw. That makes a lot of sense. As far as football, everybody got their bloodbath in week one when LSU was banging its head against the wall against Florida State. Things kind of flipped on their head in week two. And now you push off into conference play. That's kind of where we are. I'm just not going to sit here and talk too much about the Grambling game. You want me to sit here and talk about, oh, Nussmeier really looked good operating the offense, 4 out of 6 for 48 yards, had the drop by Sampson. Like, I think that was, he looked fine. He was fine. He is fine. It's Grambling. You're going to have guys running open. You're going to be able to block. It's a glorified scrimmage. I enjoy being there. I don't want to take anything away from that. But it's difficult for me to sit here for 30 minutes breaking down an LSU and Grambling football game. That's just not going to happen. God bless Matt and T-Bob for being able to sit there for an hour and a half and talk about it with no commercials, because that would have been beyond anything I could do. Me, BT, and Fave kicked around a little bit in post-game, and we kind of shifted on to the SEC and kind of what we think about the Southeastern Conference, and we'll certainly talk a little bit about that today. We'll do it with Denton, and then we'll do it a little bit in the second hour as well when I get to my SEC picks. It was a little bit of a rough week for your boy in the Southeastern Conference against the spread. Had a winning week in week one. Week two didn't go so hot. But hey, it was enjoyable watching Bama and A&M lose, right? 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. So snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges will select a winner on September 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN. Cruising right along here on a Monday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Thanks for hanging out with us. Denton Day hosts late nights on Saturdays for SiriusXM, big-time college football junkie, and we will have him with us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration can provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. The physicians at Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers, as well as access to clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. Awesome news. Expert care being offered in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany Parish, and in Baton Rouge. Right here in Baton Rouge, we'll have the Ochsner Cancer Center. Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites moving forward. We all have been affected by cancer one way or another. It's just awesome that we get to tell you every single day that Ochsner and MD Anderson are forming this partnership to continue that fight against cancer. If you'd like more information, visit ochsner.org.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with
Charles Hannegriff joined me and Jimmy out for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wes Lee at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Vegas, and we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks for hanging out with us to start your work week. Usually it's in the second hour, about 2:30. We bring on our guy Denton Day from College Football Overtime on SiriusXM, but something's come up, so he's going to jump on an hour early. He does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing quite well. Let's talk about the big games in the Southeastern Conference first from over the weekend. We'll start in Tuscaloosa, where Texas goes into Bryant-Denny and gets a 2-score win. What's your biggest takeaway from Texas's win?
The biggest takeaway was how good Quinn Ewers looked. I thought he looked really strong, and it did kind of add a little bit of credence to my thought process from last year's game, which is if Quinn Ewers was in that game from start to finish, there's a good chance Texas beats Alabama last year. I thought he played really well. He dropped a couple of absolute dimes in the first and second half of that matchup, so I was really pleased with how he looked, and I was a little surprised with kind of how slow Alabama's defense looked. You know, they're a great defensive team, and Texas exploited them a little bit. So it was I left my head thinking a little differently at Alabama and thinking way more highly at Texas.
Without using the word back, where is the Texas program currently?
I think they have a B and an A. So for playing a hangman, they got at least 2 letters there, but they're not fully back.
And so is this team, obviously I would consider them the front runners in the Big 12. Are they a playoff contender? Are they a title contender right this second?
Right this second, I would say that they are a playoff contender. Now, they have to run through the Big 12. That's important. I think a conference championship is really going to bolster their resume. But look, they went into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Like, that's about as quality of a win as you're going to get at this stage of college football. So I think they're absolutely a contender for the playoff. They just got a lot more work to do when they actually get to the meat of their schedule.
Let's flip this over to Alabama. What was your biggest takeaway from their performance, and where are things with the Crimson Tide?
They're a lot different than what they've been the past couple of years. They just offensively, you know, I like Milroe. I think he did a couple of really good things. Certainly his athleticism is a huge benefit to have when you're playing him at quarterback, but they just couldn't seem to move the ball when it mattered. And I didn't think their defense looked awesome. They didn't look bad, certainly, but they didn't look awesome. And we're so accustomed to seeing Alabama's defense be light years ahead of certain offenses, and especially if you look at just the past 10 years with what Texas has been versus what Alabama's been, you would expect Alabama's defense to really come in and shut out Texas. Not shut them out necessarily, but play really good defense and certainly not lose by 2 scores. And I just didn't feel like they were firing on all cylinders. I don't know if that was just it's the second week of the season kind of thing, or if this is what they're going to be for the entirety of the season, just a different version of a team that for such a long time has been the top of the food chain in this sport.
Are they a national championship contender right now?
Right now, no, I don't think so.
It's just wild to say in early September about Alabama, but I can't say that I disagree with you in that point. We'll stick with the SEC and we'll talk SEC ACC here as Miami beats Texas A&M, nearly scored 50 on the Aggies. Did that surprise you?
That did. I was very surprised. One, because I was so high on what Texas A&M had done last week on offense, and then to have them play against Miami the way they did, it kind of looked like they forgot what they did last week in certain instances. Like they just weren't the same team. And then to see Miami come out there and Tyler Van Dyke, I mean, he was one of the superstars of the weekend, man. I mean, he was balling on all cylinders. So the way that Miami beat Texas A&M, I was stunned with. I thought the game was going to be close. I thought Texas A&M would they'd squeeze one out towards the very end. I did not think this Miami offense was going to look as good as they did this weekend.
So what does it say about A&M?
I think it says that A&M is. I think it says that I personally overreacted to week one, which shocker, right? Nobody ever overreacted to week one. But I think it says that I overreacted to week one, and I think that Texas A&M is more of a middle of the pack SEC team, not a top level SEC team this year.
What do you make of the SEC West as a whole? Every time they've gone out and been tested, it hadn't gone so well.
Yeah, this is a weird spot to be in, right? Because we're so accustomed to that side of the conference being not just the better side of the conference, but the best side of any conference in college football. And it looks like they have kind of met their match a little bit in certain instances, like the way that Alabama lost, the way that Texas A&M lost, the way that LSU lost to Florida State. They're I don't know if they're the top of the food chain anymore. They're still a great side of the conference. There's no doubt about that. And top to bottom, I still don't know if you're going to find anybody better. But I just don't know if I don't know if right now, and it's early, but I don't know if right now I'd say that the SEC West is better than the Big Ten East. And for years, I would say, argue to no end, that the SEC West was better than the Big Ten East. I think that's changed a little bit this year.
You were a little iffy on Ohio State's offense. They play Youngstown State and put 35 points on the board. Again, it's Youngstown State, but did you feel any worse, any better, kind of still the same?
I feel a little bit better, which is what happens when they throw to 18. I mean, when you throw to the best wide receiver in college football, good things tend to happen. And for Youngstown State, I mean, God bless them, they had to defend Marvin Harrison Jr., which I don't wish on my worst enemy. You just can't leave him open. And there were so many instances where they left him 10 yards open, and if you leave Marvin Harrison Jr. 10 yards open, he's going to score, and he did. So I feel better about them. I still don't feel great. I think when they play Notre Dame in 2 weeks, we're going to get a real good litmus test on what this Ohio State offense is, because you're right. I mean, all credit to Youngstown State. They showed up and they played, but it's Youngstown State. It's not the same as your Notre Dames, your Penn States, your Michigans that Ohio State's going to have to play later this year.
Who's the best team in the country, in your estimation?
Right now, I would say Florida State. I would say Florida State. I would then closely have Michigan and Georgia in that order.
And I can't strongly disagree with that, but I'm surprised to hear you say that. Okay, then if you say that, then what does that say to you about what LSU is?
I think LSU. I think they're better than, like, the casuals are not going to think LSU is good because the way they lost to Florida State. I
31
do think
unanswered,
LSU
yeah.
is a good team. Yeah. I think LSU is a good team. I think they're. I still think their opportunity to make a run to the college football playoff is wide open. And as of right now, just based off of how they responded this past week, which, again, you're playing a lower level opponent, but the way they came out and responded, I think there is more upside to them. And as I look at all the teams in the SEC West, I think right now, in terms of the bigger picture with the college football playoff, they have the most upside out of that side of the conference.
Is the bigger story out west the quarterbacks and potential playoff contenders, or is the bigger story out west Colorado?
I think to a majority of people it's Colorado, to me it's the quarterbacks. I mean, Caleb Williams hasn't thrown an interception. The worst thing that Caleb Williams has done in 3 games is get sacked 3 times. USC has been rolling, and they're not playing good teams, yes, but the way that he has been able to continue what he was doing last year, and that offense, I mean, if people don't know who Zachariah Branch is, they're going to by the end of this season. That guy is absolutely electric, both on offense and in the return game. He returned a punt for 6 this past weekend against Stanford. So I think the quarterbacks out there, specifically in that conference, and you include Shedeur Sanders in there, and there's no doubt that Colorado's been a huge story, but I think the quarterback play and really just the Pac-12 conference itself and how much success they're having in spite of the fact that this is their last year, I think that's the big storyline out west.
How good's Notre Dame? Workman-like over NC State, 45-24.
I love Notre Dame. That sounds so weird to say because I understand that I've loved Notre Dame in the past, and they have absolutely, taken the number 2 in the bed. But I really love Sam Hartman. I think with him at the helm, this offense is as good as we've ever seen Notre Dame's offense, certainly in my lifetime. So I'm a big fan of the Fighting Irish. This past weekend was a little weird because of the lightning delay, and they were struggling to start. The lightning delay hits, then they come back out, and I mean, excuse the punny metaphor here, but the floodgates literally opened after the storm with the offense, and they just became the beast that I think they are. So I'm really excited about Notre Dame, and I can't wait for that matchup against Ohio State in a couple weeks.
All right, I'm going to challenge you with something really difficult here. We'll see how well you do. You're a college football guy. You're a junkie. You host the show you got to get me somehow fired up for week 3. We've got a good game because LSU and Mississippi State will play at 11 o'clock in the morning, but what are we looking at here?
I mean, I pulled this up earlier today, and I was looking at this schedule, and I was just like, what am I going to be glued to the couch for? I mean, maybe you could argue that Penn State, Illinois, just because of that walkie game last season, but Penn State's an entirely different team with a much better quarterback and a crazy run game. There's no way they're going to 86 overtimes with Illinois this year. And I mean, can I interest you in Oklahoma and Tulsa at 3:30? That's not doing much for me. Northwestern and Duke. I mean, any interest there?
Tennessee, Florida used to be good, but I can't say that I've got high hopes for the Gators in the Swamp.
No, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm seeing the line right now is 6.5 in favor of Tennessee. I can't imagine they win this game by any less than 2 scores.
I would probably tend to, but sometimes we say things like that and then things go crazy. So we'll have to see, but we'll be locked into 11 to 1 our time, PM into the AM. It's Denton Day, host of College Football Overtime with us every single Monday. Denton, thanks for the time, man.
Hunt, appreciate it as always, man, and do your best to enjoy this Week 3 slate.
I will do my very, very best. Appreciate it. That is Denton Day. Always enjoy our time with him, just kind of dancing around some things. We're going to get to the SEC here at the top of hour number 2, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I watched a good bit when I could. I was able to see the morning games. I saw a lot of A&M in Miami before we went on the air, and then I got to see some of Auburn late night when I got home, and it's interesting. It really is interesting, and sometimes it's hard for us as LSU fans to pull yourself just out of this bubble that we live in that's all purple and gold. And if you just zoom out a little bit and look at everybody else, you kind of go, I realize it's radio, it's an audio medium, but like I'm kind of raising my eyebrow going, oh, really? That's what Auburn looks like. Really? That's what Bama's rolling out there. Nice defense, Aggies. The Ole Miss played what quarterback and did what? Arkansas score at halftime against who was what? Florida is doing what? Like, there are things to be discussed. Let's just put it that way. In the Southeastern Conference, as far as the rest of the landscape goes, that we talked about with Denton. Look, I thought he might say that, but I didn't think. I figured he'd lean on Georgia, who's the best team in the country. I thought he would say Georgia. If you weren't paying attention, and not that it's a huge deal, but Florida State just embarrassed Southern Miss in Tallahassee this weekend. The final score was 66-13. It was 31-3 at halftime. I mean, it was just it was an evisceration. I'm not here for participation trophies. I'm not here for moral victories. I'm just here to lay out the information and give you my opinions on it one way or another. And sometimes you catch teams that aren't very good. In the middle of a really good run, TCU had a terrible team, and LSU got them in Arlington in the opener. Now, LSU at that point in time was significantly more talented than even the good TCU teams. But that TCU team stunk, and LSU got them in the opener. And this time around, I think LSU got a tough draw there, going to Orlando to play what looks to be very much a top 5 team, if not the best team in college football. We got a long way to go. There's a lot to be seen, and we'll see. But I just asked a guy who's totally nonpartisan, who lives in D.C. and just watches all the games and talks about them for 2 hours late night on Sirius XM. I said, who's the best team in the country? He said Florida State. Not Georgia, not Ohio State, not Michigan, not USC, not Texas. He said Florida State. I can't totally disagree. And again, that's not going to make any of you driving around Baton Rouge today, heading back to the office from lunch or heading out on a sales call or just listening from the desk or wherever you may be, feel any better about 31 unanswered in Orlando and getting your butts kicked in the second half in front of the eyes of the country. And everybody says LSU's overrated and isn't very good. And Florida State looks pretty good. So we'll see. The SEC kind of doesn't. So we'll take a look at that coming up at the top of hour number 2. Of course, the Saints got a nice win. Wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but look, you'll just take a 1 on the left-hand side of the dash all day long in the NFL, and that's what the Saints were able to come up with. So that's a good piece of information for us. We'll also talk a little bit about the other storylines in the NFL as well in hour number 2. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. All summer, we've told you about Corey Barr, and this will be the last day that we do so. Corey, certainly a champion of Louisiana, from Monroe, Louisiana, up there in the 318, grew to national acclaim on the Food Network star, beat Bobby Flay, fast riser in the culinary world. Didn't take those talents to San Francisco or Miami, didn't go to New York City, Manhattan. He came right back to Monroe. He operates 3 businesses right there in his hometown because being a Louisianian is important to Corey Barr. He's a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion like Corey Barr, maybe a nonprofit, maybe a business that's doing great philanthropic work, just bettering our great state, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate that champion of Louisiana so that we can tell their story along with LWCC. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Step inside an Infiniti QX50, and you'll find a suite of driver-focused features tailored to your tastes. But most of all, you'll find luxury that lets you feel infinitely you. Visit your local Infiniti retailer today.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping a busy weekend. LSU Grambling, you'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll recap Saints Titans from the Dome. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up hour one, couple more LSU topics I wanted to get to before we roll things into the SEC at 2 o'clock and then into some Saints talk at 2:15. A little bit of sound from Brian Kelly post-game, and I just felt really good for one player on LSU's team on Saturday night because of the journey to this point, and that's Chris Hilton. Chris Hilton's freshman year in 2021, he played in 4 games, didn't get a ton of run because he had an injury most of the year. Came back in the game against ULM and then had a big 81-yard touchdown from John Trey Kirkland as time expired in the Texas Bowl. Then in 2022, played in 4 games again, just missed the last 10 games of the year because of injury and just has not been able to stay healthy at all. But this guy has legit track speed and just hasn't had an opportunity to use it. And, of course, we did see Chris Hilton get out there on the field on Saturday and make a play. And it was really, really cool to see him do that. He had the 47-yarder for the touchdown. He had another catch that was for 8 yards. But it was just cool to see Chris Hilton make that play, and Brian Kelly talked about him on Saturday night.
I think where Chris is that he does not want to be the guy that stretches the field. He wants to be a complete wide receiver. And he does have speed. There's no doubt about that. You're absolutely right. And I'm not saying that he can't do that for us, but he wants to do much more. And for him to be on the field, he's got to catch the ball consistently. And that's where he's making the biggest strides. He's been a much more consistent ball catcher in practice. He's been more consistent. He had a great week of practice. He was not feeling well. He was actually sick this week, and he did not miss a practice. So we're seeing that kind of sandpaper, grit, because as you remember, with Chris, we lost him quite a bit last year to injury. And, we're seeing the growth of a receiver that's going to be able to help us this year.
My thing is, I'm all for Chris Hilton being a complete wide receiver and running all the routes and playing all the positions and doing everything he can to help the team, and that's great. But I'll tell you this, LSU desperately needs someone to stretch the field, because we know one thing about this offense is that it can get a little bit bogged down and throwing a bunch of 5-yard hitches and swing routes. That's something that LSU does do a lot of. And if they've got somebody that can get deep and vertical and stretch the defense and back it up a little bit, that is a big dimension. And Hilton is a prime candidate for that. They got a lot of guys that can run. I don't know how many of them run just like Chris Hilton does. And so, no, I don't think you've cracked the code because you popped by Grambling secondary and caught a touchdown pass. But I know the skill set. And so, yeah, work on everything. I hope he becomes a totally complete receiver. But if he does one thing really, really well and is able to do that and put that on tape and make defensive coordinators fear the fact that he may beat him over the top, well, I'll live with that every single day and twice on Saturdays, as it were, because that's a skill set LSU could desperately use. And so I was happy for Chris Hilton. It's a long 2 years of not getting a lot, and to go out there and make a big play early in the game, I thought was really, really cool. Speaking of stretching the field, getting the ball downfield, that's Jaden Daniels' job, and Brian Kelly talked about it.
It's hard to take issue with, 5 touchdown passes, but I would say that in the huddle, and when I say the huddle, I mean Jaden, myself, Mike Denbrock, Joe Sloan, we would say that he left some throws out there that we need to get better at. So we're pleased, we're not going to walk away here and be ungrateful for the things that we accomplished, but we have some work to do.
Agreed. I think everyone would agree with that. And this is a great week to get it done, because you're about to go play Mississippi State, and you're probably going to have to score some points in that game, because LSU's got a little bit of an issue in the secondary, and Will Rogers is pretty good, even though they didn't really ask him to do much in the game over the weekend. But that's the kind of answer that I appreciate. That is an honest answer. There have been football coaches here in the past, one specifically that I can think of that I covered, where everything's great, great play, great throw, great decision. We like that. That's how that answer would go. Again, not going to tell you that I have to have all the answers in a post-game press conference, but Brian Kelly, Mike Denbrock, Joe Sloan, said, hey, we gotta make some better throws. And I had a conversation with somebody, as I mentioned on Friday, inside the football ops center, that said they were fairly happy with the eye discipline of Jaden Daniels in the Florida State game. There were a couple throws that he didn't make properly, but that the decision making was pretty good for the most part. And obviously they saw some things just even in the course and scope of the game on Saturday that they weren't super thrilled with. It's just tough in those games to properly address much. You got guys running wide open for touchdowns, and it just is what it is. Jaden Daniels in the game on Saturday, 18 of 24 for 269 and 5 touchdowns. He also ran the ball a little bit, 5 carries for 29 yards. And I figured there'd be more discussion about quarterbacks coming out of a game where Garrett Nussmeier got out there to play, but it seems like not a ton of chatter in that direction. I thought Jaden Daniels was okay in the Grambling game, and he just needs to play really well against Mississippi State. And we'll ease into Mississippi State week, cranking up tomorrow as we talk all things LSU and the Bulldogs. But hour number 2, we got plenty to get to. We'll start with my SEC picks against the spread. It was not awesome. We'll talk Saints, my thoughts on Mike Vrabel's decision to kick the field goal late. We'll talk about Trevor Penning, what he looked like early, Derek Carr, Dennis Allen, and Pete Carmichael's decision to push the ball down the field late in that game to ice it away. Then we'll get some other NFL storylines as well. The Bengals took it on the chin in a big way, and they always do when Myles Garrett is on the other side, just kind of the way things have tended to go. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google, anywhere you catch your audio. You can catch all of our shows. That's OTB. That's Live at Lunch. That's my show here, The Hunt Palmer Show, as well as AFR. And you can also find us on YouTube. Every full show uploaded each and every day. We also have 2 YouTube channels with all your football content, Hunt on Saints and Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to those. Makes it easy. Just get your LSU football and Saints football sent right to your fingertips on your YouTube homepage. Open up Talking LSU and Grambling for the first 2 segments, and then Denton Day from SiriusXM Sports Overtime was with us at 1:30. So he thinks Florida State's the best team in the country. Also feels pretty good about some of the teams out west, and I think Bama is posing some problems for us in terms of discussion. I'm excited to get into that. I have a lot of opinions on what we saw in the Southeastern Conference over the last 2 weeks, and a lot of it, I think, means that LSU is probably in the thick of things. But we'll just have to see. We'll pause for Sports Center here for a few minutes. Come back with us for hour number 2. Hope your work week is off to an awesome start. Appreciate y'all hanging out on a Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric, always fired up to tell you about Boudreaux's Electric. It is still storm season, but it doesn't have to be hurricane season for our power to go off here. And you just can protect yourself against that with the folks over at Boudreaux's Electric. They can come out to your home, and they can install a Generac generator, and they can customize it to your home. What does that mean? Well, some of us have huge homes. Some of us have very modest homes. Boudreaux's Electric can customize a Generac generator to your specific home, and they can customize it to your specifications. Do you want your entire house to be powered? Do you just want to make sure it stays cool and that the freezer and fridge are working? They can do that as well. And whoever comes out to install that Generac generator, going to be with you, is going to be a full-time employee of Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric, you can catch them on the internet. And that same phone number we give you each and every day. Boudreaux's Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha Fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Week 1 of the 2023 NFL season caps off with the highly anticipated Jets debut of quarterback Aaron Rodgers against the Bills on Monday Night Football. While much of the focus will be on Rodgers, the Jets defense certainly could make things miserable tonight for Josh Allen and the Bills offense, believes unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
This is a defense that is built to stop the Buffalo Bills offense. And what I mean by that is a defense that can rush the passer, a defense that can match up receivers on the back end with their corners in coverage.
Monday Night Football, 8 Eastern, ESPN and ABC, the Manningcast on ESPN2. NBA Rockets guard Kevin Porter Jr. arrested on charges of assault and strangulation following an incident at a New York hotel lobby this morning. According to New York City police, the incident involved Porter's girlfriend. The Cubs promoting top outfield prospect Pete Crow Armstrong to the majors. He's expected to be activated before tomorrow's game against Colorado. Chicago is 3 games back of NL Central leading Milwaukee and currently holds the second NL wildcard spot.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Monday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Usually Denton Day in Hour 2. He'll be in Hour 1 today, so you can catch that on demand if you miss it. Let's go to the SEC and what we saw this weekend. Week 0, didn't get home with Vanderbilt, so we were 0-1. Bounced back in Week 1, 7-4 week to go to 8-5 overall. And this week, we were 4-8 against the number. I had Vanderbilt plus the 10. Nope. Had Georgia minus 42. Well, I didn't get there either. Had Kentucky minus 31.5. Nope. Had Ole Miss laying the 7.5. I got home with that one. Had Texas A&M covering 4 down in Miami. That did not get home. They lost. Arkansas minus 38. They didn't get there. Had Tennessee minus 36.5. Nope. They were tied at like halftime against Austin Peay. I did have Texas plus the 7. Cashed that one. Had Middle Tennessee plus 21 at Missouri. That one won as well. Had Florida minus 26.5 against McNeese. That was too easy. Got that one as a win. Missed Mississippi State minus 9. That was no good. Had Auburn laying 6.5. That did not cover either. So it was a 4-8 week. That leaves us at 11-13 through 2 weeks in a game of betting the SEC. You don't care about the bets. You just want to know about the games. And I think we have to start with Alabama and Texas. Look, I said this in July, and then I said it in August, and then I said it on Friday. Like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, like, it's probably a duck. And Jalen Milroe doesn't look like a comfortable quarterback, and he's not. He's really good at 2 things. Really good. He is an incredible runner. Like Johnny Manziel looked like a water bug running out there. John Rice Plumlee maybe looked like a gazelle running against LSU. Jalen Milroe looks like a horse running. He's got every tool you could want running. And he throws one hell of a deep ball. You let him sit back there and float it up in the air, like they'll go run under. They did against Middle Tennessee State. They did against Texas. Jermaine Burton's looked pretty good there. Jalen Milroe looks atrocious trying to complete 3rd and 7, trying to complete 1st and 10. He looks awful. He looks indecisive. He looks inaccurate. He looks awful. What we saw from Alabama in the last 5 years between Tua and Mac and Bryce Young are NFL quarterbacks with the ability to sit back there, read defenses, see open spots, throw receivers open, fit balls in windows, do things that pro quarterbacks do. And oh, by the way, all 3 of those guys started over the weekend. That's elite level college quarterback play, and not every team has it. And Alabama just flat doesn't. They just don't have it. He's not very good. And it showed itself. That pick he threw, it was just awful. He looks uncomfortable, and defensive coordinators are going to pick up on that. You know what fear Bryce Young and Tua Tagovailoa strike in you? There's just none of that with Milroe. He's got a lot of tools, but that's just not an Alabama quarterback from what we've seen in the last half decade. It's just not. And I think most people felt that way in July. I think most people felt, okay, this guy that we saw in the games last year, that Willie was an unpolished passer that like ran a lot and looks really impressive in pads, like that's not really up to Alabama standards. And quite frankly, if they did not have the best quarterback in the history of the school last year, their record would have been significantly worse. And everyone thought that in July, and then we got to crunch time last week where you had the opportunity to stick with what you said in July and say, hey, this guy's just not that good. And everybody just backed up. We'll just take Bama. We got 15 years of data here. Bama's going to win that game. Texas, they're a pretender. Texas has a pro quarterback. He's dropping dimes. He's slinging all over the place like he did against them last year. And Alabama, I mean, it basically, because of the number and the body type, it looks like they got TJ Yeldon playing quarterback. It's indistinguishable. I'm not telling you Bama's going 6-6. They're not. But I'm telling you what I am going to say is they're not done losing. Not in this era. I was not surprised with what I saw. I think Bama's got a significant quarterback problem. And I think if you put that team with either Tyler Van Dyke or Drake May, which Alabama allegedly went after pretty significantly, it looks a whole lot different. In fact, they probably win. But you don't have that guy. And because of that, you only put up 24 points. And 24 points, as we've discussed recently, is just not good enough to win against elite level teams. Go back and look at the games that have been played at the top of the sport. LSU and Clemson, LSU and Oklahoma in that playoff game, LSU and Bama and Bryant-Denny in 19, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia and Bama. Those games aren't played 24-17. That's the elite games in this sport are not played there anymore. You've got to go score 40. Milroe's not it. And I just don't know if you're going to find that this year. He goes 14-27 and throws 2 picks. Quinn Ewers threw for 349 yards and 3 touchdowns without a pick. That's how you win. Texas goes in there and wins. I think Sark's got something good building there. He's a good quarterbacks coach. He's got a good one under center now. They think they've got a really good one as the backup. And he keeps recruiting. I mean, Anthony Hill is a guy that was committed to Texas A&M and decommitted 5-star. They lose him. Texas gets him. 2 sacks as a true freshman in Bryant-Denny. I think that they continue to recruit. We know Colin Simmons. It just is what it is. I thought impressive effort by Texas, and Bama they're just not quite what they were. And I'm not going to put this thing to bed. I'm not saying Saban can't get it done. Saban's just a quarterback away. They don't have the one guy. In the transfer portal, you can fix that real quick. So we'll see. Other big one in the SEC, obviously Texas A&M and Miami, and this surprised me. Hand up, I was dead wrong on this one. I was dead wrong on this one. Y'all can laugh, y'all can chuckle. That's well-deserved. Hunt, you always bite on A&M. They're never any good. Why do you bite on A&M? They've never been good. They're never going to be good. Why do you say that all the time? Well, I lay out my reasons. I'm just wrong. Connor Wigman, I'm not wrong about. That kid's really good. And I was concerned about A&M because I said, look, they've got a really good quarterback, I think. And in a game where he was under pressure, under duress, getting hit, he threw for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. He threw a bad pick. Well, receiver fell down. The last one was in garbage time. It shows up in the stat sheets, pick, but the game was pretty much decided at that point. I still feel like I'm right on Wigman, but 2 issues for Texas A&M that we knew going into the season that I've talked about because the folks that cover them said these are the 2 biggest issues. It's corner and it's offensive line. And their corners got abused. Tyler Van Dyke threw for 374 yards and 5 touchdowns without a pick. Miami had guys running open. Restrepo, stud. George had 3 touchdowns. And A&M just had no answer. And those big physical 5 stars on the defensive front that I've spent a lot of time talking about. You got the 2 Shamars, Turner and Stewart. You got Dominic McKinley. You got guys that are 5 stars. And McKinley Jackson, sorry. Something that they are all 5 stars. They're not great pass rushers. I think a lot of these guys were 5 stars based on their physical size and strength. And they're still really big and really strong. But they didn't affect the passer. They're not pass rushers. And so when I think about, well, if you would really be able to, they're not winning at the line of scrimmage. And Miami had all day to throw and just carved them up. And A&M's offense was okay. They scored 33 points. They did get 2 short fields. Miami muffed a punt and A&M blocked a punt. So they got 2 short fields. The offense was okay. The defense just got cooked. 48 points by Miami. And A&M's teetering at this point, which is fine by me. Big one coming up for them against Auburn in a couple of weeks. Talk a little bit more about the SEC. Let's do that when we come back. We'll talk a little Ole Miss, talk about Auburn, and we'll push Saints to 2:30, and we'll chat about the black and gold coming up then. You're listening to a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love telling you about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and now's the time to get incredible offers from FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking.
Sandgriff joined me and Jimmy out for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wes Lee at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Vegas, and we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's talk a little bit more SEC football from the weekend. The late game, Auburn out at Cal, which is an odd clash of cultures. Auburn, Alabama, out to Berkeley. Auburn's offense was really poor in this game. They only got 6 first downs in the first 3 quarters of action, and they got some help from Cal special teams. Cal missed a 41-yarder. Made a 51-yarder, but got it negated by a holding penalty. And Auburn's only TD of the first half came after a Cal fumble. But Auburn found a way to go down and march and get the drive to go ahead late in the game, and then their defense found a way to hold on even after Jarquez Hunter fumbled and gave Cal a short field with a chance to go down and win. They had a 4th down, and Auburn get an interception in the end zone. It was look, I'll give Auburn credit for a gritty win in year 1 under Hugh Freeze. You'll take them any way you can get them. And I feel like we probably said that a little bit about LSU last year, especially early in the season. And hey, even when LSU played a pretty poor Arkansas team up in Fayetteville, and you found a way to win a 13-10 game that you got taken over by Harold Perkins. At the end of that game, you say, all right, you won the game. It's year 1. You're just trying to get as many wins as you can. And that's kind of the mode that Auburn's in right now. But they were wildly conservative on offense. They were not stretching the field. They ran the ball a bunch and didn't run it very well. Jarquez Hunter only finished with 53 yards in the game, but the defense showed up and did enough to stop Cal, and Auburn wins 14-10 to go to 2-0. Mississippi State and Arizona played into overtime. We're going to talk a bunch about this game moving forward, as you're well aware, with Mississippi State and LSU on deck. State got out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, and Arizona kind of chipped away. and found a way to get that game into overtime. But Mississippi State wins it, and they win it in a way that you would have never imagined 12 months ago, because they ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball. His name is Woody Marks, Jaquavius, first name. Woody is what he goes by. 24 carries for 123 yards in the game. Davis and Price, not to be confused with Davis Price from LSU, but Davis and Price combined for 6 carries. I mean, they ran the ball in this game 27, 28, 30, 35 times and threw it 17. Will Rogers was efficient. 13 throws for 13 completions and 17 attempts for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's kind of what they want to be here at Mississippi State now. It's not the air raid. It's a power running game. And my question was of Mississippi State, can you run the ball behind an offensive line that was basically recruited to run the air raid? And I can't tell if you can do it or not if you beat up on Southeastern, which they did. But Arizona is a Pac-12 team. It's functional, and Mississippi State did run the ball well against them. So that's going to be something to look for with this Mississippi State team moving forward for sure. The one in New Orleans, Ole Miss and Tulane, just a bummer for Tulane when you get word on Saturday morning that Michael Pratt's not going to play. He was so good in their opener and obviously got rolled up to a point that he couldn't practice and couldn't go. And they played Ole Miss tough. I mean, it was tied after 3 quarters. You had a 17-17 game, and Ole Miss just leaned on them, and eventually the dam broke and Tulane couldn't keep up. I thought after the first drive where Ole Miss hit them with some chunk plays and hit the big touchdown that it was going to be an absolute rout, but Tulane flexed their muscles and came back and fought. I thought that Ole Miss would run all over Tulane. They didn't. Quinshon Judkins averaged 2.7 yards per carry, and Dart was their second leading rusher with 41 yards. It was 89 yards of rushing and not a lot of it via the chunk play. Quinshon Judkins' long run was of 12 yards. It was a lot of Jackson Dart through the air. He threw for 267 and 2 touchdowns. Did have the 1 pick. Gritty effort by Horton of the Wave, but they can't quite get it done. Ole Miss, not super impressive in the game. I watched a good bit of that before we went on the air from our set between Rams of the PMAC. Just not overly impressive. And that's basically what you could take from every team in the SEC West through 2 weeks. I can look at A&M and say, wow, you held Miami to 48 points. Not great. You look at LSU, 31 unanswered against Florida State. I can look at Alabama, got dusted by Texas on their home field. Not great. Auburn's offense was non-existent for 3 quarters against Cal. Look at Ole Miss, not very impressive against Tulane against a backup quarterback. You look at Mississippi State, went to overtime at home with Arizona. Is that awesome? Probably not. I look at Arkansas and against Kent State. You're looking at it's a 14-6 game at halftime against a Kent State team that had already lost a game. It's an SEC West that looks very, very average, and that is just fine with me. I'm sick of the really, really strong SEC West that we've seen for a while. And I'm not suggesting any of these teams are terrible, but I'm suggesting that I don't see a normal Bama. I don't see a frightening Ole Miss team. Auburn's down. Arkansas doesn't look great through 2 weeks. They've got KJ Jefferson, and we'll see when Rocket Sanders comes back, but it just doesn't look awesome up there without the 2 coordinators. And we knew that what Sam Pittman had established there was largely due to Barry Odom calling the defense and to the offense that was piloted. It'll come to me in a second by Kendall Briles. Just one of those deals where you start talking and the name's not popping into your brain. By Kendall Briles. And those 2 guys leave, and what are you going to fill them back with? We'll see what Dan Enos has got. But Arkansas doesn't look like a world beater. So I looked at LSU previous to the season, and I thought LSU could kind of outclass the majority of its SEC schedule. I thought that you ought to be able to beat Auburn and Florida with no problem. You ought to be able to go win at the Mississippi schools with this team. And you should be able to play with Alabama, and you're at home against A&M. And I thought that LSU should be able to do a good job in West. I didn't necessarily think that they would run the table, but I thought that they would be in a position to, there's 6 teams, position to go 5-1, 4-2 at the worst. And after the Florida State weekend, I kind of look at it and go, man, a lot of these games feel like toss-ups now. 6 teams, position to go 5-1, 4-2 at the worst. And after the Florida State weekend, I kind of look at it and go, man, a lot of these games feel like toss-ups now. 6 teams, position to go 5-1, 4-2 at the worst. And after the Florida State weekend, I kind of look at it and go, man, a lot of these games feel like toss-ups now. And maybe this past weekend kind of pulled things back a little bit towards LSU should be towards the top of the division. I certainly think LSU is a contender to make it to Atlanta. But something tells me that the SEC West is gonna beat up on itself. Not in a heavyweight fight, more like a welterweight fight, because it just doesn't seem like the SEC's got a real national championship contender in my eyes right now. It's fun to watch those teams and make fun of them, though. They were all watching last Sunday. I got a chance when I knew LSU was going to win by 70 to make fun of some other guys. I got old takes exposed, tweeting at me about my A&M talk. I said that Miami's awful. Somebody tagged that to Old Take Exposed, and they saw that after Miami rattled off a few touchdowns and won the game. I'm fine to take that L on Twitter. I'll take the L all day as long as A&M's taking one with me. And they certainly did on Saturday. Elsewhere in the SEC, Tennessee was totally asleep. They were only up 13-6 at halftime against a bad Austin Peay team. Missouri didn't look great. They beat Middle Tennessee by 4. Florida did get all over McNeese State, which we imagine they was 49-7 final there. South Carolina gets a rough taste on their mouth, out of their mouth by beating Furman 47-21. A lot of that's in the SEC East. Georgia beat Ball State 45-3. Kentucky not very impressive against Eastern Kentucky 28-17. The final in that one. That was a 7-7 game at the half against the team from the FCS for Kentucky. So not great. Not great for really anybody in the SEC over the weekend. And now you look at Florida stepped out and lost to Utah. Alabama stepped out, lost to Texas. LSU stepped out, lost to Florida State. A&M stepped out, lost to Miami. Ole Miss not impressive against Tulane. Mississippi State not impressive against Arizona. SEC doesn't look all that awesome. Yet the sun still rose today. It's all good. I'm not pulling for anybody in the SEC anyway. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura of Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. We will take a timeout when we come back. Black and gold in the win column. 1-0. We're talking about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. Just go to the website. You can see the testimonials of the great work that David Duvall and his team have done. You can see pictures, images of some of the great stuff that they have done, and you can request that free consultation I tell you about every single day. It doesn't cost you anything. Free $99 to have David Duvall and his team come out and tell you what they can do for your bathroom or your closet. It could be a full-scale bathroom renovation. They handle it all. Could just be a tub-to-shower conversion. Take that tub out, put it in a walk-in shower, changes the look of your bathroom, changes the function of it as well. If you do a bathroom renovation remodel and a closet renovation remodel, 10% off to Hunt Palmer Show listeners. Again, that website is onebathandclosets.com. I can promise you this. David Duvall and his team are going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor, so you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast? All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping a busy weekend. LSU Grambling, you'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll recap Saints Titans from the Dome. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You know, it's a hell of a win for us. I thought our guys showed a lot of fortitude and just hanging in there, keep battling. It's a really good football team that we just played. They've been perennially one of the teams in the AFC that one of the teams you talk about all the way to the end. So I think they're well coached, and I thought it was a heck of a game, and I was proud of our guys for being able to hang in there and make just enough plays to win it.
You got to do a lot of things right to have a good NFL football team. But coaching and quarterback play are a pretty big piece of the equation. And I thought the Saints did better in terms of coaching on Sunday. I thought the Saints were significantly better at quarterback on Sunday. And I think those are the two reasons why the Saints got the 16-15 win. Was it a work of art? No. We're going to give a rip what it looked like when we get to Christmas? No. In that league, you go find a way to score more points than the other team that day, and then you figure out the next game. And the Saints did enough. What am I talking about when about coaching and quarterback play? Well, I thought Ryan Tannehill was abysmal yesterday. Abysmal. Missing wide open guys. Spears is running free. He can't keep it in the field of play. 3 picks, 2 of which were awful. I mean, great job by Lattimore, Adebo, but Tannehill looked atrocious. And that's hopefully a theme for the black and gold this year, as they play plenty of quarterbacks that have the ability to be atrocious over the next 16 games. I thought Derek Carr was rock solid. I thought he made some good throws. I thought he was calm and collected. The stat sheet at the end was good. 23 of 33 for 305, a touchdown, and then a pick. But I thought he played very, very well. I thought in terms of the coaching, Vrabel's decision to kick the field goal to make it 16-15 and to trust his defense, to me, was a questionable call. You're down there in scoring range. You haven't mounted a drive all day. You're there. It's not 4th and 14. It's a very manageable situation. And he decides to kick it. I disagreed with that then, and I disagree with it now. And then the Saints are presented with a 4th down, and they decide they're going to be aggressive and go win the game. And Derek Carr makes the play to win the game. Dennis Allen talked about his team's execution in the fourth quarter.
The best teams were able to finish in this league, and we were able to, get into a competitive game in the fourth quarter and make enough plays to win the game. So proud of the team for being able to do that.
The play I'm talking about is obviously the fourth down. And you look at it and you go, yeah, you can punt this and you can probably pin them deep. Trust your defense not to give up a field goal. And instead, no, they said, no, we're gonna chunk it down the field. Make a play. And David Carr talked about his opportunity to do that on the third down throw to Shaheed.
Me and Pete talked about it on the sideline, and I told Pete that was a play that I liked, and he trusted Sheed and I to make the play. And the offensive line gave me time to throw it, and when he's that fast, I was just trying not to throw it out of bounds, and he ran a great route, caught it, all that. It's exciting, but that goes back to Pete trusting us. He asked me, what I liked throughout the game, all that kind of stuff, and before that drive, that was something that I really liked, and he called it, so that he has a lot of trust in us as players, and that means a lot as a player.
It's 3rd and 6, your own 33, to make that throw and make that catch, and it did stand, was huge. Carr said he didn't want to throw it out of bounds. He almost threw it out of bounds, but he made the throw. Shaheed made the catch, and at that point, you can put that thing on ice. That was a huge, huge decision. I think a lot of times last year, Dennis Allen and this Saints team were conservative. This league does not reward conservative play. You have got to go win games. You sit back on your heels more often than not, you're going to get beat late. And the Saints got beat late a lot last year. And we're not talking about the Saints having to flip like 6 games. We're talking about the Saints from last year having to flip like 2 or 3. And you're a playoff team. You flip 4 or 5, you're hosting a playoff game. And maybe this is one of the ones that they flipped. Because if you punt, you run the ball and punt, it may not work out. NFL kickers are pretty good. So I thought that was really, really aggressive decision-making, quality execution, an excellent way to finish off what was kind of a sloppy game. Tennessee didn't score a touchdown. The Saints got 1. That's all you needed, and you got the win. That was the positive side of things. I thought the negative side was early, and not that it wasn't unexpected, but it was certainly glaring. Trevor Penning had his significant issues with Arden Key, and it just looked like a guy who was not prepared to deal with an elite NFL edge rusher, and Key was winning almost snap after snap. Now, they gave Trevor Penning some help later in the game. A couple of the huge completions that Carr made, they used a tight end or a back to help chip, and that may be something that you've got to do a little bit earlier. A back can chip before they get out into the flat and get into a route. Doesn't mean you have to limit the amount of route runners you have. It just delays their getting out there if you do need to give some help. And hopefully Trevor Penning continues to develop, and over time you don't have to do that as often. But right now it's pretty evident that you do, because Penning was really rough in the first half. But Dennis Allen said not too concerned about it.
I'm not concerned. This guy's going to be a good player. You got a young guy that's playing against a extremely good front. So does he have to get better? Absolutely. Am I concerned? No. I think we just keep our head down and keep going to work, and we'll keep getting better, and we'll make our evaluations when we get to the end of the season, see where we're at. But I think this kid's going to be just fine.
And that's what he has to say. You can't go in there and go, well, yeah, I'm concerned. He can't block anybody. Like, you can't really go out there and say that. You've got to say, no, I'm not concerned. He's trying to block a really good front, and he's going to improve. And that's the hope, is that he does. But until then, you got to give him a little bit of help, and you hope that you don't have to throw Hurst out there at left tackle, or Andrews Pete out there at left tackle. You've got the guy that you're gonna trust. So that was a new face in a new place at left tackle. The other new face, new place that we were talking about entering the game against Tennessee was New Orleans' interior defensive front, and how they would handle one of the most physical rushing attacks in the NFL. And for my money, the Titans didn't give Derrick Henry the ball enough. They only gave him 15 carries in the game. He had 63 yards. That's 4.2 a carry. Gave it to Spears 3 times. He had 9 yards a carry for 27 yards. If I'm Tennessee, I'm going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry 24 times in that game. They decided not to do that, but the Saints held up. They gave up 100 yards on 22 carries. It's 4.7. Is that great? No. Henry got loose for 18-yarder. Tyjae Spears got free for 117-yarder, but it was good enough to put enough pressure on Tannehill to make him throw the ball and let him be the very below-average quarterback that he is. And he displayed that, and that's why you won the game. You got 3 turnovers from him, and Tennessee wasn't able to pound away, and find a way to get it done late in the game. So, to me, I thought that Tennessee made some questionable decisions. The Saints made quality decisions. Tennessee's got a terrible quarterback. The Saints is better than that and was good in the game, and it all equaled to a 16-15 win. I had some friends that were in the Dome yesterday said it was rocking. That's a really, really good thing. I talked about this on Friday, and I think I'll continue to do so, especially if the Saints can keep stacking wins like the one they got in Week 1, that you should feel pretty good about the New Orleans Saints right now relative to their schedule, their division, and their conference. Of course, when you're 1-0, you're going to feel good. Half the league is sitting there right now feeling bad about themselves. But I think the Saints are in position to have a really, really solid regular season, and that all they're doing there is just putting yourself in position in the postseason to figure it out. We talk about this at LSU baseball all the time. That all that regular season is finding a way to put yourself in the best position you can when you play for keeps, and that's what the Saints have on their racket right now. They moved to 1-0 with a Monday night trip to Carolina up next on the docket. Looking forward to talking about that one a little bit later on in the week. All right, Saints win. A couple more NFL storylines that I want to get to before we go to break and then we play some Take It or Leave It. I thought about doing it next, but I'll just do it now. God, the Bengals just are owned by the Browns. Absolutely owned. I talked about this. They're 7-2 entering Sunday in their last 9 against Cincinnati. Make that now 8-2 over their last 10. The Browns over the Bengals, who have been in the AFC Championship game the last 2 seasons, and they just simply can't figure out how to deal with that Browns front. And Joe Burrow has struggled with this team his entire NFL career, and we knew that he didn't practice very much because of the calf injury. You look up and it's 24-3. It's a tough scene for the Bengals, who fall to 0-1. Beck, if you want to open your mic, you can. What happened to your survivor pick?
Yeah, the Vikings. They
go?
lost to the Buccaneers in Baker Mayfield.
Was that out on the road, tough environment in Tampa, or was that at home?
It was
in Minnesota.
It was in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's good. Baker boy at home, and
he wasn't good. They just they inexplicably won that game. Kirk Cousins threw for over 300 yards.
Yeah.
And,
Jets goes for 150 as one does.
Yep.
But the Vikings won every close game last year. They lose this one. So I believe the terms of our bet were $1,500 to the winner. So
I don't remember that.
You want to open the Venmo? Just fire away. We can make that work. I guess the other storylines, I thought that the Packers-Bears game was humorous because I got my ear to the ground in Chicago with all the Cubs stuff, and the Bears fans truly, honestly believed that they were really going to be a quality team this year that could threaten the division and would be superior to the Packers. And they opened at Soldier Field, and Jordan Love came in, threw 3 touchdown passes. Fields was terrible. They couldn't block anybody, and they lose 38-20, a non-competitive loss to your bitter rivals who they just simply cannot beat. Just absolute, boot on throat situation that the Packers have on the Bears, and they just can't quite figure it out. Game of the day was obviously Dolphins and Chargers. Tua throws for 466 and 3 touchdowns. Eckler ran for 117. Tyreek Hill with 11 catches for 215 yards and 2 scores. He is an absolute freak. And the Dolphins and Chargers, I think, are for real. I think those offenses are really good. We'll see if they can play a little bit better defense moving forward. But those 2 teams in the AFC look to be really, really good. And the Cowboys looked good in Week 1 last night, a 40-0 win over the Giants, who have got a lot of money invested in Daniel Jones, who is not very good. So that's a look at some storylines from the National Football League. We'll take one more time out, come back, and close things out. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
The NFL season is here. Now's the time to get incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. What a deal. Bet $5 and get $100 off an NFL Sunday ticket. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus method. Expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has...
Charles Hannigrove joined me and Jimmy out for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wes Lee at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Vegas, and we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, allow me to break just a cardinal radio rule here. Really a cardinal, like, social rule. But I feel as though this is one opportunity that I have to break the rule, so I'm going to do it. I know that you're not ever supposed to talk about your fantasy football team. Like, that's a fair thing to say, right? You're never supposed to bring up how your fantasy football team did.
Especially in week 1.
Well, how about this? This has nothing to do with how good my team is. I was standing in front of my television yesterday holding my phone as the Eagles and Patriots game ended. I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. He was the last player in our game that was still playing. I had 72.7 points. The guy I was playing against had 72.54. So I was 0.16 ahead, which is a yard, and it's a 0.1 per yard. So the Eagles get the ball back to take a knee, and I go, oh God, he's going to take a knee, and if Jalen Hurts loses 2 yards, I will lose, because I will lose 0.2 points, and I'm 0.16 ahead. So I'm standing staring at my television, looking at my phone, because it updates live in time. And I watched Jalen Hurts take the snap and take a knee, and he very clearly goes down after 1 yard. And I look down at my phone, and it snaps back to 72.6. So I won by 0.06 points. If he would have backed up 3 more feet, I would have lost my fantasy match.
Game of inches.
I mean, truly a game of inches. I know that none of you cared about that, but I have never been in a position where I'm standing there counting the feet with which a quarterback backs up to take a knee. And I watched it update in real time to 72.60 and went up. That's a winner. Won by 0.06. And yes, I'm well aware that scoring 72 points is atrocious, but I scored 0.06 more than Patrick McKay. So that's a winner. 1-0 to my fantasy team. All right, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Cowboys dominated the Giants 40-0 last night. The Cowboys are legit contenders. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Why not?
I'll take it.
I mean, I'm not going to bet on them, but I think that they've got a pretty good roster, and the NFC's not that good. If I'm going to sit here and confidently tell you that I think the Saints are going to have a really strong season, I can't look at the Cowboys roster, which is probably comparable across the board, and say, oh, yeah, they're no good. I mean, the Eagles didn't look incredible yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, you scared of the Packers? You think Seattle's going to be awesome? Like, San Francisco, it looks good. I think they're going to be good. But, I think the Cowboys are a contender.
All right, next one here. The Braves outfielder Ronald Acuna hit his 35th home run today. He's also got 64 steals.
Yeah.
He's going to go 40-70 this year. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think he is going to get there. He's as good offensive player as there is in the league. I know I've said a couple times that Ohtani's been the best hitter, but if you put the entire package together and you look at Acuna in terms of batting average on base, the power, and then the dimension he adds where he steals a ton of bases, he's a massive talent, and the Braves are going to be a handful. Hopefully the Cubs get into the playoffs and can make things difficult, but he's a joke.
The only thing that's going to stop him, I think, is if they get to where they already have their playoff spots sealed up and they rest him.
Yeah, they're going to get a bye, though, so I think they're going to play some guys. I mean, they may take him out in the 5th inning or something, but I don't think he's going to sit for 3 games.
Yeah. All right, last one here. Alabama got soundly beaten by Texas, as we covered earlier, featuring 10 penalties and 2 turnovers.
Yep.
Bama will lose 3 games for the first time since 2010. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I think there's a real chance of that. I think A&M can beat them. I think LSU can beat them. I think Ole Miss can beat them. I think Tennessee can beat them. And then you factor in a potential SEC championship game. I think there's a real chance of that. I don't think Jalen Milroe is very good. I think he's really talented. I think he would be a menace as a change of pace quarterback if you wanted to play him kind of the way that Auburn's using Robbie Ashford. Yeah. But for him, he throws a great deep ball, and they're gonna score some points with him. But like, he cannot sit there like the great quarterbacks in college football and make precision throws. He doesn't do it. He didn't do it last year when he got time. He didn't do it against Texas. He throws deep balls and he runs. So I don't think he's going to be very good at all. I have some very troubling things going on in the Bayou Ford chat here that we have to get to. What is stat correction? Justin Payton said, God, I hope you get a stat correction. The program director says you haven't won yet. So Hunt's going to lose on stat correction Wednesday. What is that even? They fix the stats on Wednesday?
Maybe they
the stats are done. The game's over. Official stats. Story written. Teams flew home. It's over. There's no stat correction. This would be a significant problem if I were to lose. I think there's 10 teams in our league. I think I was had the third fewest points in the entire league, but played a team that had fewer. So that's a win. I will be devastated if retroactively Yahoo comes back and tells me that I haven't won. I was grinding firsthand, sitting there watching it update. That's hands-on managing of my fantasy team. Dustin B said it's definitely not over. This is an outrage. I will play the entire season under protest if they do this. That's a winner for my fantasy squad. All right, that's it for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I always enjoy our Monday shows. Talked to LSU Grambling for the first 30 minutes of the show. A little reaction to Brian Kelly's press conference earlier today. Nothing earth-shattering from that, as you would expect. Denton Day usually with us in hour number 2 on Mondays. Instead, he joined us in hour number 1 at 1:30, talking college football nationally. I asked him who the best team in college football is right now, and he said Florida State. I have a hard time totally disagreeing with that, and I don't know if that makes you feel any better as an LSU fan, but that's what Denton had to say. In the second hour, we talked my SEC picks, 4-8 against the number. Very poor. We got to bounce back next week. So SEC talk for the first 30 minutes of hour number 1, and then got into some Saints, and I was happy with the way that the Saints played and executed and coached on Sunday. That's a nice win against a pretty strong team in Tennessee. So if you missed any of that, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, or of course on YouTube. Tell you every day, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. That's where you get all of your information on YouTube. You can subscribe to those channels. We certainly would appreciate that. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. We will have Glenn West talking Tigers. I'll have some player interviews tomorrow, and we'll talk with Glenn, and then Sharif Ishak will be with us talking all things black and gold as they got off to a 1-0 start and now put their sights on Carolina. That's kind of what we'll do with Mississippi State and the Panthers coming up on tomorrow's show. So have a great Monday. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.